Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving deep into the book of Esther.
Okay.
A story of intrigue and faith,
Mm-hmm.
set against the backdrop of ancient Persia.
Right.
You've given us a really interesting mix of materials to work with.
Yeah.
You've got study guides, historical texts, even some motivational pieces.
I like it.
So clearly you're interested in uncovering not just the events themselves, but
Right.
their deeper meaning and relevance for us today.
Absolutely. It's a story that continues to resonate
Yeah.
across cultures and centuries, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
There's something so compelling about this.
Yeah.
This young woman thrust into a situation where she has to make this impossible choice
Right.
with the fate of her people hanging in the balance.
It's a real nail-biter.
Yeah.
And what makes it even more gripping, I think, is the context.
Okay.
These weren't Israelites who were, recently captured and brought to Persia.
Right.
These were families who had chosen to stay in Persia, even after they were given the option to return to their homeland.
Imagine making that decision.
Wow. Yeah.
To stay in a foreign land surrounded by a culture that's not your own.
Right.
It adds this whole other layer of complexity, I think, to their story,
Mm-hmm.
especially when their very existence is threatened by Haman.
Okay, so let's talk about Haman.
Yeah, let's do it.
This guy was a high-ranking official in the Persian Empire, and he was seriously furious with Mordecai,
Oh, yeah.
Esther's cousin, because Mordecai refused to bow down to him.
Now, that refusal, rooted in Mordecai's Jewish faith,
Right.
wasn't just seen as a personal snub.
Right.
It was a direct challenge to Haman's authority
Wow.
and the prevailing social order.
Yeah.
And this clash of cultural and religious beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
this is a recurring theme throughout history, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Think about the persecution faced by early Christians in Rome,
Right.
or even the discrimination that some religious minorities face today.
It's a stark reminder that intolerance and prejudice
Sadly.
are sadly not confined to the past. And in Haman's case, his rage takes a terrifying turn.
It does.
Instead of just targeting Mordecai, he hatches this horrific plan to exterminate the entire Jewish population of Persia.
No.
And we're not just talking about a few people here.
Uh-huh.
We're talking about genocide.
Yeah, and to really grasp the depth of Haman's hatred
Right.
and his determination to see this plan through,
Yeah.
the historical texts mention he offered King Xerxes a staggering 10,000 talents of silver.
What?
To put that into perspective,
Yes,
that
yeah.
sum would be the equivalent of hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars today.
Wow, that's a serious amount of money.
It is.
It's almost unfathomable to imagine
Right.
someone harboring that level of hatred enough to bankroll a genocide.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder what psychological and societal forces were at play.
It's a chilling thought,
Yeah.
and it sets the stage for Esther's impossible dilemma.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing the danger,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that approaching the king without being summoned
Mm-hmm.
was punishable by death.
Right.
What would you do?
It's like walking a tightrope
Yeah.
between obedience and annihilation.
Yeah.
On one hand, staying silent offered like a sliver of hope for survival,
Right.
a chance to remain hidden within the palace walls.
Right.
But on the other hand,
Yeah.
silence meant the potential extermination of her entire people.
Right.
Her family, her heritage.
It was an impossible choice.
It was an impossible choice, and yet she chose to act.
And her words, "If I perish, I perish,"
Right.
they're more than just a statement of defiance.
Right.
They're a declaration of faith.
Mm-hmm.
They reveal a woman willing to risk everything.
Wow.
Her position, her safety, her very life for something bigger than herself. Such a powerful moment in the story, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
But before she even steps foot outside of her chambers,
Right.
before she even puts on her royal robes,
Yeah.
the sources highlight a detail that I find particularly compelling.
Okay.
Esther doesn't rely on her human strength alone.
Right.
She turns to prayer and fasting, calling on her people to do the same.
Okay.
It's a 3-day period of intense spiritual preparation.
It's like they're acknowledging the immense weight of the situation, right?
Yeah.
Recognizing that this isn't just a political problem,
Right.
but a spiritual battle.
Absolutely.
They're essentially saying, like,
Yeah.
we have a plan, but we need a miracle.
Yeah, and this idea of seeking divine intervention, of surrendering our limited understanding to a higher power.
Right.
It's a concept that resonates across different faiths and philosophies, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Whether it's through prayer,
Right.
meditation, or simply like connecting with something larger than ourselves.
Right.
There's recognition that we're not always in control.
And in Esther's case, what happens next
Yeah.
is often described as divine intervention in the sources.
Okay.
The way events unfold, the way she finds favor with the king, the way Haman's plan is exposed.
Right.
It's all orchestrated in this incredibly intricate and almost improbable way.
It's like watching a master chess player
Wow, yeah.
making strategic moves that might seem baffling at first.
Right.
But then the brilliance of the strategy becomes clear.
Right.
We might not always see the how or the why in the moment, but there's a sense that there's a bigger picture unfolding.
Right.
A plan beyond our immediate understanding.
And this concept of trusting in a plan we can't fully see, of having faith even when the odds are stacked against us, it's something that I think speaks to a very human need.
Yeah.
We crave certainty.
Of course.
We want to know that things will work out, but life is full of uncertainties. And it's in those moments of uncertainty, those times when we're faced with the unknown, that faith can be both a comfort and a call to action.
Absolutely. And the sources don't shy away from drawing parallels between Esther's story and the experiences of people throughout history who have faced persecution and even death for their beliefs.
Wow.
Think about the early Christians in Rome. The stories of martyrs who endured unimaginable suffering rather than renouncing their faith. Or even those who stand up for their beliefs today, risking their reputations, their livelihoods, even their lives for what they hold dear.
It makes you wonder, like, what are we willing to stand up for?
It's a powerful question. And one that I think challenges us to examine our own convictions, our own willingness to take risks, to be courageous in the face of opposition.
And it's not always about grand gestures or life or death situations, right? Sometimes courage is found in the everyday choices we make.
You've hit on a crucial point. The materials emphasize that faith isn't just about these extraordinary acts of heroism. It's also about the seemingly small decisions we make each day. Choosing honesty over deceit. Kindness over indifference. Standing up for what's right even when it's unpopular. It's about putting our faith into action. Living out our beliefs in tangible ways.
It's about those everyday acts of courage that might go unnoticed by the world. But they speak volumes about our character.
Absolutely.
Like choosing to forgive someone who's wronged us. Or speaking up against injustice even when it's uncomfortable. These acts might not make headlines. But they shape who we are at our core.
And that's where I think Esther's story offers such a profound lesson. It's not just about the big moment of approaching the king. It's about the years of living a life guided by faith. Even when no one was watching. Even when she couldn't have known the role she would one day be called to play. It's about recognizing those everyday opportunities for courage and compassion, for living out our faith in ways that impact the world around us.
It really makes you think about, you know, like the small, seemingly insignificant choices that we make every day, right?
Absolutely.
Like Esther, we may not always see like the ripple effect of our actions. But this story suggests that even the smallest act of faith or courage can have far-reaching consequences.
It's like the butterfly effect, isn't it?
Totally.
That idea that even the smallest flap of a butterfly's wings can, you know, over time create a hurricane on the other side of the world. We might not see ourselves as world changers. But we all have the capacity to influence the world around us. For better or for worse.
And sometimes it's about recognizing that we're not supposed to have all the answers, right? That sometimes the most courageous thing we can do is simply trust in a plan that's bigger than our own understanding.
Exactly. It's like that leap of faith Esther took when she approached the king. She didn't have any guarantees. But she trusted that even if things didn't go according to her plan, there was a higher power at work. And that kind of trust, that willingness to surrender control is often what allows us to tap into a strength that surpasses our own.
It's about acknowledging that there's a certain freedom in surrendering to something larger than ourselves. It doesn't mean that we become passive. But it does require a shift in perspective. Like, we're not at the center of the universe, you know, calling all the shots. We're part of something much bigger, something more intricate and awe-inspiring than we can possibly imagine.
And that, I think, is one of the most powerful takeaways from Esther's story. It reminds us that our lives have meaning, that we're each given this unique set of gifts and opportunities to make a difference in the world. We might not all be called to save a nation. But we are all called to live lives of purpose, to be a force for good in a world that desperately needs it.
It's a story that reminds us that courage isn't the absence of fear, right?
Yeah.
But the willingness to act even in the face of fear. It's a story about the power of faith, not just in a higher power, but in ourselves and our ability to overcome these seemingly insurmountable obstacles.
Absolutely.
And it's a story that, despite being set thousands of years ago, still holds incredible relevance for us today.
It does.
Offering these timeless lessons about courage, faith, and the power of one person to make a difference.
So as you reflect on Esther's story, ask yourself this.
Okay.
Where do you see opportunities for courage in your own life? Where are you being called to step out into faith?
Right.
Even if you can't see the whole path ahead.
Yeah.
Because those everyday acts of courage, those moments when we choose to stand up for what we believe in, those are the moments that truly define who we are.
This has been such an incredible deep dive.
Yeah, it has been.
Thank you for bringing these sources to the table.
Of course.
And allowing us to explore these profound themes with you.
My pleasure.
Until next time, keep diving.